Well, how we doing? This is Dr. Gregory Clark Sr., and I wish to thank you for taking the opportunity of joining me here on my YouTube channel. This is a great opportunity, and I appreciate you. So why don't you take the opportunity to like and subscribe to this respective channel as we deal with faith, finance, and leadership. I'm here to be your architect of assistance. And once again, you have an opportunity to be a partner with us here at the Value of Money Collective. So once again, I thank you for taking the opportunity of watching this video and taking advantage of the teachings and the shares on this respective channel. And you can also support by doing it via Cash App, Greg Clark MMA, $, Greg Clark MMA. If you desire to do it via Venmo, you can do it at Gregory Clark MMA. Remember, Clark has the E at the end. Don't forget the E. And once again, if you want to do it via Zelle or PayPal, you can do it via my email address, which is esquire971 at gmail.com. So once again, I don't desire to belabor long, but take advantage of the video that you're going to about to watch, and take advantage of being a part of the Value of Money Collective. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you like and share. Peace and love. Now enjoy the video.
Well, how are we doing on this fine Tuesday? Oh my God, Tuesday is flying. Tuesday is flying. July is flying. Well, Tuesday was flying today as well. But, July is moving and shaking. And before you know it, boy, we be in August. And I know for those kids down in the South, boy, they're about to go back to school. Northeast still got probably another couple of weeks. But I know the South and probably the middle section of the country, boy, they're getting ready for school time. That's probably why we're seeing all those school commercials. But once again, this is Dr. Gregory Clark Sr. welcoming you to here, the virtual mankind cable space where we're developing the Value of Money Collective, where we're having great conversations. We talk about current events, financial literacy, things that can do with helping our respective Jerusalem. That means people that look like either me and you. If we're not being responsible to share information and understanding that we're here to exacerbate and to develop each other, then why are we doing this for? Can't be just in a space to do it for our own respective selves or from a selfish pocket. It has to be something that has to be that you are willing to be a continuous giver. Because if you're a continuous giver, that means you can be a continuous receiver. So I don't want to belabor too long because I know one or two individuals already said that they may have to pop out a little early. So let me, greet everyone like I usually do. Let me start with the man who's coming from an island in the Caribbean. None other than Mr. William Riches. How are you doing, Mr. St. Martin?
Well, God is awesome.
That's right.
He is doing wonders. So it's just sometimes we have to just give God thanks,
Mm-hmm.
for the goodness of God in us.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the good of any good in us, but the goodness of God in us.
Mm-hmm.
That He does always direct us to the right path,
Mm-hmm.
and the implementation that we receive, we be able to apply our heart unto wisdom and apply the things that we learn and see it come to fruition. Because it's a good thing to hear one thing, but the other part is to also apply what we have heard and see the manifestation of the fruits of it. So I just give God thanks because He's awesome.
Excellent, 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 excellent. Love that, love that, love that. Now let's go to our Canadian brother, our northerner, none other from the man from Ontario, Mr. Gary Steele. How is everything up there in them parts?
Very good, doctor. Not bad in terms of temperature. About 20 degrees, 21. 75 Fahrenheit, sorry.
Mhm.
So it's not bad.
No, that's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah, they claim that it's gonna get a little warmer towards the end of the week. But the past couple of days been some of the best days of the summer. It hasn't not too hot, not too warm. It's just been hit that pocket. Hit the pocket. And when you hit
Yes.
that pocket, it's just comfortable. And We're going to just enjoy all these wonderful days of summer. But it's great to hear your voice, and of course, great to have you here as a part of the conversation.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Let us go to one of our Floridians down there. He's probably going to give us the Gator Report. That's probably, we may have to create like a little segment of this thing called the Gator Report. None other than Mr. Guthrie. What is going on with Mr. Guthrie today?
Blessed love to all. It is a rainy day. Well, summer is a rainy time, ironically, in Florida. So it's been a rainy afternoon after torturous heat the last 2 days.
Jesus.
But you know what I mean? I was saying to people the other day that the Florida kids are kind of different. Based on their level of exposure. Their fear of anything is seen very limited. Because they interact with gators, so something instead of actually stepping down in the water when they see the small baby gators around. And it's interesting to see how comfortable they are around certain type of wildlife and things like that. But I had a scenario where a little boy was fishing yesterday, and I'm saying to him, he was so well-mannered that he apologized because I was sitting there on the phone or something. He came by and he apologized for entering the space he was fishing. I said, no problem, what are you talking about? But he was so well-mannered. Sometimes you hear about kids and what they're like these days, but it was very refreshing to encounter a young person that was so well-mannered. But Florida is very hot at one point, then it's rainy, then it's stormy, then it's schizophrenic weather, but I prefer it than any other temperature. In spite of it. You know what I mean? So blessings to everyone.
Excellent. Blessings to you as well. Thank you for joining us. Next up, oh my goodness, boy, we are blessed today. We got Jersey in the house. None other than Miss Sharon Lewis. How is everything with Miss Lewis on this fine day?
Good evening, Dr. Clark. Excited to be on the call. Thank you for having me. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. It was great to see when I saw her name pop up. I said, oh my God, we got Miss Lewis in the building. I said, this is going to be a good night. It's going to be a great night. It was great to hear your voice.
Love the positive affirmations. Thank you. I'm drawn towards that.
Well, we're going to continue to delve into that because that's what the Value of Money Collective is about. And, we recognize that money is not about currency. It's not just currency. Money is how we apply ourselves in our respective areas using time, using wisdom, using all the respective energies that are presented to us. And so when we use money effectively, we start to recognize that everything starts to grow in our respective paths. So thank you once again. Okay, next up, let us go to Mr. Franklin. How is everything in your part? I know Mr. Guthrie's in the southern part, you in the northern part. So, you give us your weather report. Let's see how's everything going in your neck of the woods, Mr. Franklin.
Light rain here today, but it's still muggy outside.
Okay. Is Miss Darnetta with you? Or are you rolling solo?
She's right here.
Oh, excellent. Hi, Miss Darnetta. Hello. Want to make sure we acknowledge everyone appropriately and confidently. And I got your message in the chat, so I'll make sure you're one of the first people to participate before you have to disappear. That is great. That's great. And let us go to the young man from Indiana. They had a little bit of an all-star weekend. Young ladies walking around in t-shirts saying, "Pay us like you owe us. If you're gonna hold us." None other, but they deserve it. And we can't front because the pay disparity in certain aspects, and that's why we have to recognize it's not so much it should be male dominated. When we start to recognize the power of partnership, everyone should get their just due. And there are times when I recognize, because I know I'll get to Dr. Cheryl Clark, but when you can recognize that women are the ones who have the ability to reproduce and at times still be in a space where their value could be diminished, we start to recognize a lot of things is a little backwards. But we're gonna start the movement of rectifying some of those things. So how is everything with Mr. Davis?
Everything's well, very well. The WNBA weekend, All-Star weekend was really, really nice. I was able to check out a couple of the facilities, the things and events, and it was pretty nice. A lot of people. Again, in Indianapolis, only left 20 minutes from Indianapolis, so I was able to check out a lot of different things, see a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was good.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, great to hear your voice. Great to have you as part of the overall conversation. And can't wait till we flow forward tonight. Next up, let us go to the young lady who I know is probably, feeling good. Well, we're both our teams that have been acting kind of wonky. As y'all been talking about muggy weather in Florida, both the New York baseball teams been acting real muggy. Even last night, just real muggy, just real weird. So let us go to my fellow Bronxite, none other than Miss Nicole Johnson. How is everything with you today?
I'm doing great, but I'm confused because the Mets won yesterday, so I'm not quite sure what you're referring to.
Maybe I'm trying to lump you in with my Yankees.
Yeah, you are. I mean, your Yankees are winning right now, and the Mets, I think, are 0-0, but just want to clear that up in case anyone was listening confused. Doing good, doing good. Just trying to essentially, I found myself the last hour just reading the Heritage Foundation because somebody's like, "Do you hear about Project Esther?" I'm like, "What's Project Esther?" It's
Really?
the push to fight anti-Semitism, but
Mm,
wrapped up in a little bow with DEI breaking, voting breaking, just destroying everything. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, I'm enjoying the Heritage Foundation, I guess.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, for some of you who are either new to the platform or um, respective of that, Heritage Foundation is also the individuals, the evangelical end, um, uh, the Christendom, people who don't look like us, who don't think about us, but create a foundation in regards to like when you hear like focus on the family and stuff like that from the West Coast and Colorado and all that stuff, they're believers. I'm not saying they're not believers, but the way they believe is a little very wonky to me. So when they came out with their first tome, which was a 900 something page book called Project 2025, and had all these different mandates, and you're seeing how right now this administration has been initially tried to claim they knew nothing about it, even though it was a public document. People were talking about this and recognizing the fact that Project 2025 wasn't very inclusive. It was very exclusive. And it was presented in a space that if you are a white evangelical, then we're here to make sure that we galvanize a space of spirituality for you. Everyone else gets pushed to the margins. And it gives me a great understanding when even Bible when the Bible says, and especially in the Old Testament it says, and they said God was a jealous God. And he says, don't have any other gods ahead of me. Don't have any other gods before me. Don't make any graven images. Do not make any particular, casting of things to deal with some of those things. That's what messed up Solomon. When you think about it, Solomon was considered one of the wisest people or the wisest person to ever live. And because of Solomon, they were able to galvanize, and there was a great prosperity season in Israel. But at the same time, Solomon started to think with the wrong head. And even though he was wise, his downfall was the fact that he started to move away from the true and living God. And he forgot the fact that, we're having 700 wives and 300 concubines and all this other stuff. And even God kept dropping those hints on him, says, son, you may have a particular urge, but your focus is supposed to be like what your father did. Father wasn't perfect, but at least your father knew when to repent and get back on track and say, yo, there's only one God and this is what we're serving. And so we have to recognize when we see all stuff like Project Esther, Project 2025, some of the things that we see what's going on in the Congress and stuff like that, like how they released the MLK files, but they're refusing to, release the Epstein files because all of a sudden they probably started looking and say, oh, that might mess up the image, but the image has already been messed up. We already know we have a misogynist that's in the office. We already know that we have someone who's a xenophobic. We already know someone who's anti-inclusionary from his days just being a real estate developer here in New York. So, you know, they don't want the rest of the country, they don't want the rest of the people to know. What some of us already know, already have an inkling to, or the things that are already out there that are proof. about his antics or the ways that he moved, even with the Epstein situation. So it's just very interesting to see how they attempt to play coy when they know certain things are going down. But we're no dummies. We're eyes wide open now, and we're recognizing how we're going to continue to embrace ourselves, respect our culturality, and allow ourselves to be fully developed. So, as certain things get developed and move in a positive direction, we're going to make sure our community does the same thing. So, thank you for that thought, Miss Johnson. And without further ado, let me introduce the young lady who is behind the Girl You're Cute movement. That means hopefully you are on her power calls every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know, fellas, this is mainly for the ladies, but it's all good because the book is still an aspect where it gives you an inkling and understanding of how to even interact and to navigate in the situations when it comes to development and all the other things that we can be an influence upon. This is also a young lady who has her doctorate in organizational leadership, also is the CEO of the Speak Your Power Now network and movement as well. And got a nice little shape for AARP club. So without further ado, let us present Dr. Cheryl Clark.
I don't know what to even say. Blessings, everyone. Thank you so much, Dr. Clark, for that. I don't know what to say.
Rousing introduction.
Amen. It's good to see everyone tonight. I can't wait to be with it. Yeah, that's what it was, Nicole, just shady. I just don't even know what to say. That's why I'm not even coming on camera. Just have a great one.
Come on, camera, Cletus. Come on, Cletus. Come on, camera. No, let me behave. Let me behave. But all jokes aside, no, it's wonderful. Life is never perfect, but when you start to recognize that you have the ability to shape the type of life that you desire to experience and have, then you start to recognize how certain things move and flow and become a part of. So definitely thank my wife for jumping on today. And before we get into the main part of the teaching, I have to acknowledge and give opening for that because I'm thinking about Malcolm, and I'm talking about Malcolm-Jamal Warner and his transition. It reminded me a little yesterday, like the day when Michael Jackson transitioned. And I'll never forget, I was at a movie theater in 2009 with my mother-in-law, and we was catching one of the Transformers films. And all of a sudden, we came out the movie theater, still in the Bronx, Bay Plaza, so I know Nicole knows what I'm talking about. And coming out theater, and all of a sudden, we saw people like walking around like we were at war. People sitting there, and we saw like one or two people crying and seeing all these alerts. And then, remember 2009, smartphones wasn't really as smart as they are today. So they were just starting to get into that space and that phase where, you had the interactivity and you can get the news reports and stuff like that. And all of a sudden I started seeing all this buzzing going on. And all of a sudden looked on the news feed, Michael Jackson just transitioned. It was like, I mean, if you turned on CNN, if you turned on, well, we have 1010 wins here in New York area, which is like number one when it comes to news. And it was like every single station, even the regular TV stations, everything was centered around this man transitioning. And not saying that Mr. Warner had the same type of impact, but in some aspects, especially when it comes to our community, it was a very positive one. This was a man who started off as a child actor and didn't get caught up in Hollywood's mess and still ended up kept aspiring and kept being a creative, getting into all the different realms of media, was a musician, um, was very astute in his acting abilities. He's been in a bunch of stuff lately, a show called The Resident that was on Fox for a couple of seasons. He was like one of the main parts in that. And just to see the fact of, from what everyone says. So this is when you know that you left a positive image or a positive vibration on the earth. Everybody can talk about it. Says, you know what? I can't say one bad thing about him. That's when you know that you've done a very good work with the way that you impact people's lives. I mean, we'll always remember him as Theo Huxtable because of that character that he played. But even the fact that Bill Cosby was able to come out of his space and have a live interview, and you can hear his voice cracking and hearing all, you know, it felt like he when he lost his child in The Natural, when that, weird situation happened and he lost his only male seed, and he felt like what happened to Malcolm and the way how everything went down, it felt like he felt that again. So even that was good to say that, that brought a little empathy for Bill to say, Bill is speaking about this young man like, I lost another son. And the world lost someone who was a positive life. And this man was very pro his community. That's one thing I loved and respected about Malcolm, regardless if he was in a podcast or if he was promoting something, he cared about his community. So when you think about the positive impact, and I know different channels are probably going to play everything in anything that he's been a part of, regardless of Sons of Anarchy or The Resident, especially the Cosby Show, and Malcolm and Eddie and all the different things that he was a part of. I think it was another show, the Reed, something with Reed in it, where he played Tracy Ellis's Ross's husband and all that other stuff. But I mean, all of the attributes, and it's always good to, especially here on this platform, we're going to acknowledge people who positively, because if they're here or if they're transitioned, that left an impact which we can glean from, that we can learn from, and even we can tell those who are, family members or individuals, say, why is it not impacting me like that, or is impacting, like, especially Gen Xers. I'm a Gen Xer. Why is hitting us as Gen Xer? Because 54, he's a Gen Xer. He's part of our generational span. That's too young. But you know what? We don't know the time, we don't know the hour, and this gives us an opportunity to recognize not only our exploits, but to recognize, to have the people around you who desire to stay connected, and to, acknowledge them, love on them, and, let them know that you're here. Don't try to chase everyone. You can't. That's one thing I will never say. Don't go around attempting to try to chase everyone under the sun. Sometimes it's good for certain people to stay where they're at. But when you can recognize that, when you left a positive impact where every single person can say, this gentleman was a professional. This gentleman had etiquette. This gentleman left a positive vibe. Then, the world is a little bit less sunnier today, even though we know the sun is going to continue to shine. So before we move any further, anyone else got any thoughts or inklings of what they've been hearing or what they've been feeling, so we can process that as a community, so it's not just a monologue? So the floor is open if anyone else who remembers any thoughts or just what he left, because he left something very, very positive. He left something very, very positive.
Dr. Greg.
Yes.
Yeah, what I love, I always look at Malcolm as Theo. I admired him about that. The thing about him that I really admired most, he was community oriented. He was family. He brought community and family values, or a family mindset to the Cosby Show. It's almost as if he fit the profile, because that was what the Cosby Show was all about. Community development, family, well, gifts education, because Dr. Bill had his doctorate in education. So that was the whole show. So Theo was a good fit for the show. What made him look good? He always looked good when he was like doing community work. Like if the scene is at a community center, it showed his passion for community development. Also, his real life love affair with Justine. Justine was Michelle Thomas. I used to love that little girl. Well, girl, and they had a good relationship on and off the screen, and it showed that Theo love relationships, a good monogamous relationship. So he was a shining star in terms of the Cosby Show. Of course, he had comedic timing. I wouldn't say he's a comedic genius, but he had comedic timing, especially with regards to the Garden Guttrell, um, that Theo new comedy. He had comedic time. I'm not saying he's a Jack Tripper from Cheese Company. I'm just saying that he had the timing and he knew how to flow. I'm impressed with his musical abilities. He got a Grammy in 2015, which was kind of shocking for his poetry. So the man was very rounded. But if you want me to encapsulate what I think about Theo, community, family values, monogamous relationship mentality, and that's what I love about him. Thank you for the opportunity, Dr. Clark.
Not a problem, not a problem. And who's next? Who wants to give their thoughts to process, what has occurred? And, open, the mic is open. Floor is yours.
Dr. Clark, this is Sharon. When I think about Malcolm-Jamal Warner, he was, for someone who grew up in that same time frame, he was the example. That was the ideal family to mimic. And growing up, even reading about him, what kind of stood out for me was the fact of how close his mother watched over him, regardless of the fame that he experienced in the Cosbys and even through life. His mother guided him, and that was the person that kind of steered him in the right direction. So even growing up, he was highly protective of his wife. He was very protective of his daughter. Those values that he instilled in him in Hollywood or outside of Hollywood, he kept it even growing up as an adult. That's what I'll miss and admire about him the most, as well as his versatility as an actor. Thank you.
Thank you for that contribution. Anyone else? Your thoughts in regards to, Mr. MJW, because he left a lasting impact. I mean, when they talked about the fact that they said when Cosby was casting the Cosby Show in 1984, that because originally he's from New Jersey, and he was one of the last picks. He came on the last day of open casting. And they said when Bill saw him, even though there was like 2 or 3 others that I guess the other producers were saying, they're going to probably end up with the role of Theo. They said that young man came in on the last day of the casting call and just blew it out the water. They said within 10 minutes, Bill already said, okay, we already know that's Theo. That's the one that's going to play my TV son. And so that just lets you know that there was, as they say at times, the universe can sometimes put that thing on you where that thing is your thing, that's your thing, that gift or that talent or that experience or whatever it is. And he had that. And as you said, the Cosby Show started dealing about Theo, and even when it ended in 1992, when he graduated from college, that's when the Cosby Shows ended. When, they joked about, they went to his graduation at NYU and they stood up and sat back down, and Cliff is like, what's going on here? We spent da-da-da-da-da, and, that's it. And it's like, and the fact of the matter is, and I think my wife can attest to this as well, where they dealt with the fact of, which it was very autobiographical based upon Cosby's life, and the fact that Theo had dyslexia when they found out, towards the fact when he was in high school and things of that nature. And he wasn't a bad kid, he wasn't a disruptive kid, but he had dyslexia. They kept, Cliff was always wondering, what's going on with my son? How come you can be better than a C student or maybe barely getting a B? You can be an A student. And then when they found out that he was dyslexic, all of a sudden he started to fly, and then showed the years of him being a college student and eventually graduating. So anyone else before we continue to move forward, about anything about Mr. Warner, we want to give that space, because, you know, especially us Gen Xers, when you're in them 40s and 50s, we all have a space to talk about. I see Mr. Guthrie's mic is open.
You know, it's one of the most significant things for me. I couldn't believe it when I heard it. I kept hearing whispers of it. And I'm like, then swimming. I'm like, swimming? Drowning? Of all the things. Is one of the best representations of us ever on screen, consistently. I can't think of one significant scandal they've been able to pin on him.
No.
I can't think of any role he's ever chosen to do that was not a positive representation. He has been consistently positive in presentation and how he carries himself and in interviews. And he has been, from my perspective, true to himself more than any other artist I've ever seen. He seemed to operate on his terms and his belief systems. And he was an excellent representation of us. But more than that, he seemed to be one of the people that, as a child artist, and I don't limit it to actor because he's an artist in every sense of the word, he had several different gifts and talents and forms of expression that he chose to entertain. And he said it. He did not say yes to things that he could have to venture out and attempt other things, for example, and other interests that were not necessarily financially lucrative, but is something that he was interested in doing. And he was always culturally relevant, authentic, and just all around, you can't really find anything negative. He never seemed to be negatively affected by fame. Never. And one of the things that this whole thing entered the conversation for me is, no matter how benevolent we are, how good we appear to be, saved or unsaved, death and the timing of it is known by no man. And it cannot be assumed that you're going to have a lot of time. And it pays to prioritize the here and now more, and to practice self-care intentionally more, and to voice the extent of your appreciation for people, especially, you know what I mean, in the here and now. And that's something I find myself practicing a lot more, especially since being sick like I was. It quickly causes you to make the decision to either retreat or to go boldly where no man has gone before, so to speak, in the realm of dancing with vulnerability and being more expressive about how you truly feel about your people, and actually prioritizing self-care at all costs and unapologetically so. You know what I'm saying? So it was devastating for me in many ways, and I can't begin to fully understand or express why and how, but I felt so connected without knowing the person personally. But he was an exceptional human being from the vantage point that I saw. And you can't fake that consistently. And you saw him grow. You saw him expand. You saw him evolve. Everything he touched, he approached it with excellence. Undeniably so. And I'm greatly inspired by seeing creativity expressed at a high level, and consistency and positivity expressed. So R.I.P. to his family.
Amen.
Blessed love.
Bless. It's good. Great way to sum up that segment. And I kind of gave a little inclination of it as well, because we're not going to dwell on that, because we know the reason why they had the audacity to start to release some of the FBI files around Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., because they're attempting to do the misdirection and play the misdirection game away from the fact, because everyone knows that there's probably stuff in those Epstein files that will make the president look even more worse by the fact that he had to sue the Wall Street Journal, and the Wall Street Journal is already saying we can't wait for our day in court, we're not settling. So that just lets you know, when people start to really get their grounding and get their footing, and it's not something like what happened with CBS or ABC, and they start settling and this, that, and the third. When people start to say, "Yo, no, we taking this to court," and this is not someone who has small money. So now he's dealing with someone who probably has a little bit financial power than he does. I mean, he might be sitting in the throne, but if we're talking about, if we're measuring wallets, Rupert Murdoch is not somebody who's going to sit there and says, "Oh, I'm nervous because you're suing me over a story that we have concrete facts about, but you just don't like the outcome." And we have to watch ourselves. And I'm talking to us as United States citizens. When we get to the point where people start to lose their ability to critique, that's what happened with the Colbert Show. The Colbert Show wasn't being canceled or being told, in air quotes, that late night is not good. Late night is still good. People still watch late night. It's the fact of the matter is that they're trying to there's certain people, there's an almighty dollar. And we have to recognize that here as in the capitalist country of the United States. This is all about the almighty dollar. The reason why Colbert was canceled or fired or his show is coming to an end next May is the fact of the matter is that he was still being a citizen. He was still expressing himself. And that's why it's so disgusting to see how they're attempting to share or to release or whatever it is that they had findings on Dr. King. We're talking, man died in 1968. This is 2025. What is the purpose of that other than to do a distraction? Because everyone is looking at the fact that y'all are lying about these Epstein files, that y'all made all this noise about it. And then when y'all finally got in there and saw what this says, it says, "Oh, your main leader, your MAGA, the MAGA, drumming upper is, wait a minute, he was partners with this dude. Oh, he hung out with this dude. Oh, he even celebrated his 50th birthday." And this is not stuff that I have to say alleged. This is stuff that they have the proof, even the video. So it's like it's very disheartening as a citizen, because the reason why I keep referencing that as a citizen, because we know that the Constitution of the United States didn't have us as full citizens. It's still on there as our forefathers were 3/5, and we know we're not 3/5. If anything, we're 6/5. But we won't go there today. But to see that you're doing something as a distraction, because if we release some of this stuff that may have some salaciousness, or they may have some things in there that they have found during the time when they all were being surveilled, from the Malcolm X's, the Fred Hamptons, the Martin Luther Kings, the Stokely Carmichaels, anyone under the sun that was especially about liberating our community, they were being surveilled. So of course, there's no man perfect. Even we know David wasn't perfect. I already alluded to about Solomon. There's I'm not even gonna sit here and try to act like I'm perfect. I'm not. Never will be, not trying to be. And that's why I don't even try to do anything. I'm not even making that attempt, because when you put yourself in that particular space, that's where you can ultimately fall short, because now you're creating a fantasy, you're creating a lie. We all have our little quirks. We all have our little things that allow us to be who it is that God is allowing us to define ourselves, along with the fact of what God has already positioned within us. So when you can stay within your pocket, or be in the pocket, as I said earlier, you be good. Sometimes you may say a choice word, or you may have an attitude, or you may have a little temper once in a blue moon. It happens. That just shows, okay, you got certain things in your DNA stream based upon your forefathers. Okay, that doesn't make you not perfecting to do something powerful and expressive. So, we're not gonna give that much attention, because we already know what that's about. But as we flow into today's teaching, it's about pressure. And that's the reason why you can tell they released some of that stuff, because they were feeling a lot of pressure. And they're still feeling the pressure. You even have the Speaker of the House now talking about he's gonna send home the whole body, all 430 some odd representatives, home early, because Democrats and senators said, okay, y'all want to start releasing stuff? Okay, Let's have a vote. Why can't let's let the American people see what's going on in these Epstein files? Now all of a sudden, oh no, maybe we'll send them home early. Maybe we won't even make it to August. What you're scared of. But you have the audacity and the disrespect.